Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today for Spooktober, which was meant to be Wednesday's video, but it's okay. We are looking back into the category of UFOs, and specifically a variation of the UFO. As we know, UFO, unidentified flying object, and more recently they changed it to UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. I was like, what did the P stand for again? Anyway, that is the current nomenclature. However, as I said, on one variation of UFO, there's another version of this. USO, an unidentified submerged object. If you've ever paid attention to a lot of UFO sightings, UAP sightings, it's often around bodies of water. Not all, but there's a good portion that around the coast, over the ocean. So yeah, it is quite common for them to be sighted over watery or near watery areas. Now, here it says the U.S. Navy classifies USOs as whales, sharks, and other sea creatures that can interfere with ship maneuvering, sonar operations, and oceanographic research. But the first reports of USOs date back to early 1950s and mainly describe strange objects seen by sailors and aircraft pilots. The majority of these sightings have never been confirmed, and the term is often used by ufologists such as retired Admiral Tim Gallaudet, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, to refer to unidentified flying objects which can allegedly travel through water. So yeah. Now, here we have a pretty common recent, or not common, but pretty recent article from Popular Mechanics. And it says, Navy officer says underwater UFOs are legitimate threats. The evidence is hard to ignore. And this is a pretty recent article, August 25th, 2025. So it's just a couple of months back. Some of the most credible encounters with non-human aircraft have happened over the world's oceans. Now witnesses want answers. 2014, during training flights off the coast of Virginia Beach in Virginia, FA-18 pilot and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Ryan Graves began to notice something strange. The radar returns looked off. Phantom blips moving with unfathomable speed and precision. At first he dismissed it as a glitch. Let's close this commercial out. I didn't want to watch you. But then the anomalies returned, recorded by fighter jets, sophisticated sensors, significant. They would hover in place and then dart away at supersonic speeds. They were recorded from the ocean surface to 40,000 feet. sometimes stationary, zero point 0.0 Mach, other times 250 to 300 knots, sometimes even supersonic, 1.1 to 1.2 Mach. Remember, I think it's Mach is the speed of sound. All altitudes, and always over the ocean. After appearing only as glitches on the jet's radar, the objects on one occasion finally came into view, and Graves reported seeing a dark gray or black cube inside a clear sphere between 5 and 15 feet in diameter, coming within 50 feet of other jets. That was the turning point. We started treating it as a safety issue. So, the dark cube inside a clear sphere has been sighted a number of times. It's a pretty common sighting. Over the next year, the Graves squadron recorded sightings of unidentified objects almost daily. Sometimes the objects flew in loose formations, other times they traveled alone. They had no exhaust, no visible propulsion, no wings. Sometimes the objects would rotate in place. Others vanished when approached. As it turned out, pilots stationed off the West Coast on missions aboard the USS Nimitz, the USS Princeton, and other carriers had been experiencing similar things for years. Yeah, it's pretty common, like I said, coastwise, over the oceans, to see these USOs. Sometimes they'll see things fly through the air and dive into the ocean. Sometimes they'll see things come out of the ocean and fly off. So there's clearly some level of mass medium travel capability. Some of these craft, now classified as UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomenon. I originally called them unidentified aerial phenomenon, which is my fault, my bad, appeared to be capable of transmedium travel, meaning they are able to move from air to sea without slowing, splashing, or emitting heat. They challenged every assumption held by aerospace engineers and radar operators. Graves doesn't claim to know what the objects were, but one thing was clear. This wasn't business as usual. There was a serious issue at play. It wasn't just one rogue object. It wasn't just us on the East Coast. It wasn't just my squadron. It was a pattern. This was global. Since at least the 1950s, military sources have reported strange objects plunging into the ocean, what they call USOs, unidentified submerged objects, and these phenomena exhibit characteristics that conflict with our understanding of physics and maritime navigation. As radar and similar technologies have advanced, so have the number of sightings. Today, Graves is one of the most vocal advocates for UAP transparency. Now retired from the military, he's the founder of Americans for Safe Aerospace, the largest UAP-focused pilot safety initiative in the world and works with former Pentagon and naval officers to push for greater transparency. He doesn't claim that these crafts are alien, but he's certain that they aren't using known human tech. Where that leaves us opens up options. Extraterrestrial visitors, time travelers, breakaway civilizations, things that challenge the status quo aren't easily accepted at face value. Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, maybe, PhD and oceanographer, was one of the first to view footage from the UAP incidents in 2015 involving fighter jets attached to the USS Theodore Roosevelt, which was at the time was conducting training exercises off the coast of Florida. 2 videos by Navy fighter jets were made public in 2020 showing strange craft flying at incredible speeds with no visible means of propulsion, sometimes rotating in midair. I knew then that what I saw was not our technology. We don't test experimental aircraft in training ranges. It's too dangerous, and I had access to everything classified. No nation has craft that can move like that. Gallaudet, now retired from the Navy and currently the CEO of Ocean STI Consulting, is pushing for the U.S. government to treat these phenomena as national resource priority. Despite some public disclosures, many records remain classified, buried within defense contractor vaults, or shielded by national security exemptions. If even part of what's been reported is true, then the encounters off Virginia, California, and elsewhere could be the opening chapter to a much deeper mystery, one that spans oceans, navies, and continents. This spring, Graves and Gallaudet briefed officials in Washington, D.C. on unidentified submerged objects. We're at a unique moment in history. People have access to tools that can reveal things. The momentum is building. Yeah. There is the ability to catch so much more of what's going on. Phones are cameras now. Everybody almost seems to carry a phone. I don't own a cell phone for records, so I don't carry one. Anyway, the momentum has already begun reshaping policy. In 2023, Congress passed the UAP Disclosure Act, legislation requiring federal agencies to collect, catalog, and disclose records related to recovered non-human craft and biologics. For the first time, U.S. law openly acknowledged the potential existence of off-world or non-human intelligence, and even hinted at the craft retrieval and reverse engineering programs. These newly released records contain a trove of details on previously classified encounters with multiple transmedium UAPs. None definitively prove that otherworldly beings are hiding in or above our oceans, but they do raise questions that neither our military nor scientific experts can explain. So yeah, it's what we still, even though we have this great girth, plethora of sightings, of encounters, there's still no attempt to confirm, deny. Well, there's no attempt to confirm or try to assuage the public that this is not something we're in danger from. No, we don't know. No, we don't know what you're talking about. It's a bird. It's a meteor. So yeah, it's ridiculous. The possibility that they exist underwater is very real. Gallaudet says they could come from another galaxy if they've conquered the engineering challenge of that. Or why not? Maybe they lived here for a long time before we even evolved and sought safety from the Earth's atmosphere and geologic cataclysms by creating a habitat and place to live beneath the seafloor. That's one hypothesis. We only know a tiny percentage of the ocean. Only so much of it's really been mapped. And then you talk into getting into the deep depths. The Marianas Trench and places like that where the pressure's so deep, so heavy, most things cannot go because most underwater drones can often be crushed like aluminum cans. And then, of course, people are even more in danger trying to go into those depths. So there's a lot we haven't fully got knowledge of when it comes to the water. This doesn't mean we don't know the majority of the stuff's in there. You know, like people often say, oh, the Megalodon can still be down there. Doubt it. When pressure gets that heavy, that deep down, the temperatures get that cold, because your hot water is only on the top layer, a little ways down. After that, it cools down significantly as you go deeper down. There's creatures that can live down there, but they're not of giant size. Now they're weird and unusual, but they're usually not of giant size. Because a lot of them are usually smaller, living in around thermal vents and stuff. Anyway, the following 4 incidents have provided investigators with the most compelling and perplexing evidence so far of transmedium encounters. With what experts like Gallaudet believe could be non-human in origins. The USS Nimitz encounter, 2004. Several U.S. Navy pilots assigned to the Nimitz encountered a tic-tac-shaped UFO, UAP, darting and dashing over the Pacific. According to reports that followed, the object lacked visible control surfaces and heat signatures that will be typical of jet aircraft or rockets. And it never made a sonic boom, though it appeared to be traveling faster than the speed of sound. Those are two things that are very clear with what we understand of flight. Rockets, jets, missiles, anything that travels through the air usually has some kind of heat signature because it's got that propulsion and exhaust. So, to make it fly. We haven't discovered a way to make it anything really travel of true value without a use of some type of proportion like exhaust, usually producing heat. And we've only been able to break the sound barrier by creating the sonic booms, which happens when the vehicle outraces the sound and just causes the incident began when the USS Princeton, a guided missile cruiser escorting the Nimitz off the coast of San Diego, picked up strange radar contacts. The objects appeared at 80,000 feet and then dropped to sea level in less than a second. FA-18 Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate scrambled to intercept the jets, which each man claims to have been a smooth, white, oblong object about 30 to 40 feet long. No wings, no windows, no markings. It just hung in air just over the sea. So, not only is it moving without the normal means of proportion, when it stops, it's just sitting there in the air. It's not falling. Doesn't seem to have gravity affect it. Yeah. And this was I think the famous Tic Tac incident. This is the one they're describing here, which of course it looks like, well, the breath mints Tic Tac. As Fravor circled downward, the object suddenly shot away, vanishing in seconds. It just disappeared like the bullet out of a gun. Fravor told Fox News. The strike group dispatched a second flight. This time the object was captured on an infrared camera, showing a white speck flying against the wind, rotating and maneuvering in ways no known aircraft can. Aguadilla in Puerto Rico, 2003. One of the most hotly debated encounters of an unidentified submerged object came in April 2013 when an infrared surveillance camera operated by U.S. Customs and Border Protection captured something extraordinary over Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. A small spherical object flew inland from the ocean, crossed the airport, and returned to the sea, where it maneuvered in ways that appeared to defy physics. The 3-minute video, published by the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, has become a key piece of evidence suggesting the possibility of trans-medium travel. It shows the object entering the water without slowing down. No splash, no wake, no disruption. Seconds later, it resurfaces, splits in two, and submerges again. Any object passing between two mediums should generate drag or turbulence, or at the very least, a splash, according to the laws of hydrodynamics. But this one behaved as if those laws didn't apply. Yeah, a lot of these UAPs, whether they are UFOs or USOs, seem to defy the laws, natural laws, law of gravity, law of hydrodynamics. I mean, going in without slowing down, it creates no splash, no wake where the water just does that, or no disruption at all. It's like it just nothing. You can't tell. But it comes back up, splits in two, and submerges again. But apparently, coming out of the water, there was no drag, no turbulence, meaning it didn't have to struggle whatsoever to come out. It's not that they break the laws, Gallaudet says. It's that they demonstrate engineering capabilities that we haven't yet developed. We can't build anything that can do that today. I've spoken with the pilots who saw it. The near instantaneous acceleration of that craft is something we can't engineer. Caribbean Sea, unspecified date. In the 1990s, a Navy CH-53 Sea Stallion pilot was flying off the coast of Puerto Rico and he saw something he couldn't explain. His crew, on a routine mission to retrieve a BQM target drone that had been previously dropped into the ocean, had sent a diver into the water to connect the drone to the helicopter's hoist system. But just before the helicopter was about to lift the 20-foot long drone out of the sea, something pulled it violently downward. The pilot, whose name has not been disclosed, would later report that the object was large, dark mass, unlike any submarine or marine animal he'd ever seen. After FAA 18, Commander David Fravor went public with the previous incident he witnessed off the USS Nimitz. He says the Sea Stallion pilot contacted him to relay the story. Fravor then shared the details on Joe Rogan's podcast in 2019. The helicopter drops the swimmer in the water. He hooks the whole thing up and they fly back, Fravor said. The first time they were out and they were going to pick up the BQM, he's sitting in the front. In the CH-53, you can see down by your feet. And as he's looking down, they're 50 feet above water. He sees this kind of dark mass coming up from the depths. As the pilot picked up the BQM, he was apparently at a loss for words. He was looking at this thing going, what the hell is that? And then it just goes back down underwater. And once they pull the kid and the BQM out of the water, the object descends back into the depths. And USS Omaha 2019. It begins as a blip. In 2019, infrared camera aboard the USS Omaha captured something that defied explanation. A spherical object moving swiftly over the Pacific before dropping into the ocean, Again, no splash, no wake, no debris. The footage later verified by Pentagon officials stunned observers. The object didn't resemble any known drone, missile, or aircraft, and its disappearance beneath the waves raised questions about transmedium tech. In the incident, the crew of the Omaha, which was also sailing off the San Diego coast, recorded a spherical UAP hovering just above the surface of the Pacific. The ship's sensors that caught the object was the sophisticated ANKAX-2, a stabilized sensor turret built for maritime environments that includes a digital video camera, night vision camera, and laser rangefinder. The video shows a recording of the ANKAX-2 screen and appears to have been taken with a night vision camera. The object seemingly moves, tracked by the sensor operator, and then just hovers above the ocean's surface. Then the object disappears. It looked nothing like any aircraft known, Gallaudet says. After I testified before Congress last year, a sailor who had been on the bridge of the Omaha contacted me. He said the object was just one of many and that he's witnessed a similar event aboard the USS Jackson in 2023. But yeah, that's the article. So, again, it's when you think of UAP, don't just think they fly, because clearly they've been traveling underwater as well for quite a while. The sightings have been going on. Squish my bottle there. Now, we are finding more about these USOs, and I want to end here. We're going to watch a video. And this is on the channel Deep Sea Oddities. Give the channel a like, subscribe, show them some support. But let's go theater mode and check this out. This is an object filmed by a remote operated vehicle off Sanriku, Japan. Possible USO or underwater drone. Giant squids. I can't remember which one it was, colossal or giant. There, see it go? What is that? That's moving at an intense speed. Frame by frame. Notice the distance it makes just in each single frame that the camera's caught it. It goes quite a distance in just a short period of time. It's like is heavily lit up. Note that the object appears behind the main subject, indicating that it's further from the camera than the squid, and thus must be at least as large. Whilst there is no official explanation as to what the object is, there is a couple of immediate possibilities. A probable biological answer is that this was a jet-propelling squid, and that they are the fastest aquatic invertebrates, with smaller species capable of moving at speeds of 40 kilometers or 25 miles per hour. The object does to be extremely bright, is glowing. Squids often display bioluminescence, which is combined with the motion blur and the ROV's lights might make the image overexposed. And then there's the man-made option, that this object is a true USO, unidentified submerged object, and it is some sort of underwater drone. The object's speed and sheer luminance indicate at the very least that this might be a synthetic, non-organic object. But with no definitive answers, yeah. And here it is again. But yeah. These are the kinds of things we're talking about. You could see the thing moving through the waters as if there's no drag, no pull on it from the medium it's traveling through, the ocean. And yet, it just zooms through. Yeah, go check out the channel Deep Sea Oddities, where I got the video. Give them a like, or even a sub if you want. Check out their channel. But we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting these links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.